Yo, what's going on, everybody? If you are not subscribed to this channel, I don't know what's up with that, but you need to do that ASAP and follow me on all my different platforms. Keep up with me. I put out help content regularly, especially when it comes to tools, haircuts, any texture. I got you covered. But if you haven't seen this AFRO process, go and check out the 3-part videos that I put out, which pretty much broke down how we achieve this look. And if you remember, for those of you that do keep up with me, I promised after my clipper review for the CYBORG clipper that I would do haircuts that only had me using the CYBORG trimmer and the clipper. If I so happen to use something else, it's because I absolutely have to. And if I have to improvise between guard systems, because I promised to only use the tight guards. Okay, y'all, now to get to the real deal business. Like I said, if I have to improvise, I will absolutely do so. But this is going to be kind of intentional because I had to go ahead and showcase this new SABER trimmer with the precision blade. Of course, this thing is a monster. It's a beast. I did try it on a few people, but this was one of the very few people that I was able to get footage of. So instead of using the CYBORG to, of course, create the bald guideline and later on do the lineup, I'm going to go ahead and just try this blade out and see how his hair reacts to it by creating the bald guideline, then later on line them up. So with that being said, this thing is definitely performing very, very well. It did great. It did awesome by balding out the side taper and as well as the nape area taper. It did great. And I can tell that this is going to be my go-to moving forward, especially for individuals such as him that have shorter, smaller vertical bars. For example, when I have to, of course, line up or get areas that have really small spaces, like in his case, he has a small, short vertical bar, which you will see later on, of course, then there's no irritation from this blade whatsoever from everything that I have done with it, and every part of the head or the face, such as people that have beards, you know, the mustache area, the mouth area, it's done great. It's performed very well. But I'm going to go ahead and get into this cut. So as you can see, I just slapped on the 1.5 tight guard, and I'm going to go ahead and start to remove some of that bulk. And I went with the clipper lever open first, and I closed it halfway. Then I'm going to eventually close completely, making sure that I'm removing the weight line and anything that looks heavy that does not need to be there, just kind of really debulking the tapered area. This is a smooth transitioning process that you take in order to achieve a smooth blend. So just take your time, make sure you're brushing or combing out everything that needs to be combed or brushed, and go ahead and cut. So I'm going to switch guards and start to, of course, clean this up just a little bit more because this is far from ready to be lined up. So I'm going to move on to the half guard. This is the tight guard, of course, and I have the clipper lever all the way open. Then I'm going to close it halfway, then close completely. But remember, with this adjusting of the lever, make sure you are improvising. You don't have to do it directly all the way open all the way or closed halfway, or neither do you need to close it completely. You can use those other spaces that are on the lever, especially if you have a click system such as on the CYBORG. This is why I like the CYBORG. The CYBORG has that click system which allows you to go ahead and know exactly where you are compared to a floating lever. You know, the more fluid lever is something that allows you to have all the freedom when you're more of a, you know, seasoned barber, you know, versus being a completely new beginner to this. The click system is amazing and it works perfect. This click system is something that I've been using for as long as I can remember, especially back in the day when I used to use the Conair platform, those things all had clicks on them. And over the years, I know a lot of people have gotten more advanced and are really killing it when it comes to the floating lever. For example, if you are one of those individuals that are into stuff like the Oster fast feed, for example, it has more of a fluid lever, which is completely on point, just like the wall system, you know, with their floating lever. It's amazing how that thing works. But with that being said, I did move over to the one guard. This is, of course, a tight guard number 1, and I'm using the same process. I'm going ahead with the clipper lever all the way open, close it halfway, and close it completely. Just slowly making sure that I'm creating a proper transitioning blend. You don't want to leave any weight behind. You don't want to have anything left behind. And these tight guards, y'all, if you haven't invested in these yet, you need to do that ASAP. If you are not shopping with Gamma Plus, you need to do that now. Go to the website. Same with Stylecraft. Use discount code J.Exquisite. Save some money. Anyway, like I was saying, when you are using these tight guard systems, these things are very smooth. They create really nice tight blends. This is similar to the wall system. For those of you who are familiar with the wall system, you would definitely appreciate these. The big difference, the game changer, is these have magnetic guards, and they're, of course, more sturdy. They won't go bad after you clean or wash them, as long as you're, of course, being careful with them, which I highly doubt that you will ruin these. And things that ruin your guards, which people don't really realize, is things like slapping the guards on while your clipper or trimmer, if you're using guards on a trimmer, is running. Turn it off, slap the guard on, make sure it's on there properly, then go ahead and turn it back on. Otherwise, some of you are experts and you just love to slap those things on and keep it pushing. But I'd recommend that you don't do that, because that's how you destroy your guards. But as you can see, I have lost the half guard and I've moved on to just no guard. I'm using the same process, clipper lever all the way open, making sure that I stay consistent with the same steps that I have been using. Up next, I'm going to, of course, close it halfway and close it all the way. But remember to always improvise and use those other spaces on the lever or the click system appropriately. This will always assure that you have a consistent blend. Every time that blade touches hair, is going to clip the hair away as it should. And you see, this is looking really smooth. It's looking really good. And I'm going to go ahead and just remove some of that weight that may have possibly been left over using the CYBORG. Of course, this is my first time using the SABER on him. Before, I have used the SABER before, which I don't use that much often in the shop. It's more for personal use, to be honest, because at first I wasn't really into the SABER. The same with the SABER clipper. I wasn't really into it, so I just took those home for my own personal use. So I do self cuts with those things. They work amazing. But the fact that they have redesigned this thing and made a few upgrades, such as this precision blade that has been out on the market, but they equipped it on this SABER, which is definitely something that some of you who are coming from, for example, the Andis system, are used to the slimline blades. Those smaller blades are really great. As you can see, he has a small vertical bar. These are trimmer blades that won't have you make any mistakes, such as clipping the eyebrow on the corner. I know some of you know what I'm talking about, and it's really difficult to stay within this small, tight space on some people that have that small forehead compared to those who have maybe a 2 to 3 inch forehead. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So this, and when I say 2 to 3 inches, I'm talking about like just the width from, you know, how high the vertical bar is from the eyebrow all the way up to the top, you know, straightaway line. But anyway, I think you understand what I'm saying. As you can see, this is definitely a comfortable blade. Anybody that's going to use this is going to be very comfortable with it, going to be very confident. It's a small blade. It's not intimidating, unlike some other blades, which you will also hear me say this a lot. I tend to use the corners only when it comes to my trimmer blades. In this case, you can almost use this whole full blade and have it do the job very well, no problem, with all the confidence. So with that being said, this is exactly what this blade did. And I've been thinking maybe I should zero gap this thing, but I should probably keep it the way it is. Like I mentioned in the last video when I did the self cut or the self lineup on myself, I mentioned that I'm going to use this trimmer blade set until I am sick of it, as far as it not performing well. And not that it's not performing well, it's doing a great job to come out straight out the box, but I may zero gap this thing because I want it to really be precise, to hit on point every time. Now, me getting comfortable with this blade and working it in, just kind of getting the hang of it, is exactly where the struggle was for me. It wasn't too bad of a struggle. It's just kind of getting used to how much surface this blade will really need to cover, compared to how, when I say on other trimmer blades, I just use the corners. This one is kind of one of those blade sets that you have to use the entire blade, especially when it comes to going around the forehead area, or when you're creating that straight line is what I'm trying to say, not going around. I'm over here looking at going around the ear. Sorry about that. But what I mean is the straight away lineup is going to be challenging with this smaller blade because it doesn't cover that much room on the front. So as I turn them around just to have them in the position which is going to have them prepped to be lined up in the front, and just you tell me, you be the judge, leave a comment. How do you feel about this lineup? You know, it looks good, it looks great, but I'm kind of going to struggle making sure that I maintain the front line. So I'm going to have to, of course, switch over to the CYBORG, and that's because it has the wide style blade. The AFRO blade is a wide version. Then you also have the one cutter on it. And by the way, for those of you who are wondering, this blade set on the SABER is the one cutter, of course. It's just equipped for the SABER precision version, of course. So it's a precision blade, but it is equipped with the AFRO. And like I just compared right there, as you can see, it's a lot wider on this CYBORG. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I create this line properly. I don't want to have to risk me using the trimmer, have my mans out here kind of looking bogus. And I've mentioned this before in the past videos that I've uploaded. I tend to use a lot of new tools, y'all. And with that being said, Gamma Plus and Stylecraft as well have a huge amount of, an abundance amount of tools. You know, they release something almost every month. So having your options and me being able to just get whatever I want when I want, as in purchase what I want, or maybe possibly get a gift, which is really awesome. I really appreciate the generosity from Stylecraft and Gamma, just to be real with y'all. I mean, some of these things can be pricey and there's a lot of things that do drop, but you don't need everything. Now, here's why you need a lot of different tools though. You see what's going on here? I had to improvise from the precision blade to the wide blade, okay? Because if you don't have the proper tools, you will be working a lot harder. And the last thing you want to be doing is working harder instead of smarter. So you have to improvise. So when I tell you that I'm going to use these particular tools in the video, yes, I'm going to do that. I can really go ahead and do a full hairline with just this precision blade, but to save myself the headache and for demonstration and lesson purposes, I'm going to show you the improvising process right now, right here in the real time. As you can see, this video is not sped up. It is showing you everything in real time, exactly how I am executing and doing it. I just did a full taper on one side, of course, because I already took care of the other side by using the CYBORG clipper combo. Of course, I didn't use the precision blade to do this taper broadening out part or whatever. I use the CYBORG. Now, I'm not saying it's a huge difference. There is a process here going on, but I just want you all to understand that the process that is required, the proper measures that you take, will always make sure that your clients come back. That is why I call haircuts subscriptions. So for those of you who didn't watch the process to how we reached here for my man's right here, he had a whole fro in the beginning of the video. Remember that, right? But that's a whole separate day. It's a whole month ago maybe. And only for him to start still doing the textured look. And I put out like a 3-part video showing the process, which of course the first one is really ugly. It's a very hideous process, but to see him go from where he was to what we made this become and what he is wearing it like now, it just amazes me. But you gotta love style, and what people choose to wear as their style is on them. You can't dictate and control everybody's look. As a barber, you just have to make suggestions the best way that you can. And if people take your advice, then of course, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a round of applause. You have done your job. If they don't go with what you're talking about or advising, it's all right, because it's always client's preference at the end of the day. Forget what the comment sections say. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In my rock voice, in my Dwayne The Rock Johnson's voice, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. Do what you want, y'all. All right? If your client says, do this, do it. But also remember, your art is your art. So do what you want based on how you do things. Because people are always going to talk. They're going to throw shade. They're going to do all kinds of backstabbing. People are always going to have something to say. It doesn't really matter. Okay? So as you can see, I'm following over the work that I did with the precision blade on the SABER. Precision, of course. And just pretty much making sure that this line is very sharp. We usually always get a really sharp line on him. So the CYBORG is a beast. It's a mechanical beast. This thing eats everything in sight. I didn't zero gap this thing. I didn't do nothing crazy. I got this thing out the box and it's smacking. So for those of you who have not invested in the CYBORG, I don't know what you're waiting for, because this thing is top 5 trimmers of all time, in my opinion. If anybody has to say something and argue that, leave a comment. Do what you do. Let me have it. But as you can see, this thing is pretty much complete. And let me know what y'all think about the SABER. How did it do? Do you have the SABER? Do you plan on getting it? I highly recommend that you do, because this is something that you are going to possibly, of course, need at one point. When you're using it on kids, for example, it's going to be worth it. Even those adults that have shorter vertical bars and stuff like that will work out very smooth. And if you didn't watch me with the self-cut line that I did on myself, definitely check it out and stay tuned, because that was on Sunday when I did that self lineup, and I'm going to probably get back to it on like Thursday and touch myself up before the weekend, because I gotta look on point. Might have a hot date with my wife, you know what I'm saying? Gotta make sure I'm on point. My wife loves it when I get a haircut. I don't know about y'all, but make sure you're getting y'all haircuts, fellas. Otherwise, you're not gonna be getting no play, not just from your wife, but from anybody. And we're talking about just society in general. I know everybody has their different takes on haircuts, but stop stunting on what other people are rocking, whether it's the Edgar, if they're rocking locks, braids. Doesn't matter their age. Let them do what they want, because people are going to do what they want. They're going to be human. They're going to be people. They're going to do people things. So with that being said, y'all, I know y'all see me working the mess out of this razor, and it is doing its thing, making sure it's tightening everything that those trimmers left behind and keeping it sharp and on point. Anyway, I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. It's a wrap for this one.